Benin's car yards are teeming with second-hand automobiles. Some of these cars hit the roads for the first time 18 years ago before being shipped to Benin, where their new owners await. Today, Zakari Cisse is visiting this mart to acquire one. This model was first driven in Belgium in 2002. But that's a minor factor as long as it still runs good. The car I am driving is a second-hand one. And when I start it up, if you're not touching the vehicle, you can't even tell if it's turned on. So the used vehicle is always clean. It doesn't pollute. In Benin, a 15-year-old imported sedan typically changes hands for around $2,300. A brand new model can cost a dozen times as much. But second-hand cars are also big polluters, undermining efforts to reduce carbon emissions. Automakers release vehicles with standards that are often much more stringent than the legislative standards. We've decided to be a dumpster, so whether we like it or not, when we choose equipment that's already 10 years old, we can no longer hope to have the same pollution levels as a new vehicle. Conservationists say pollution generated by these old vehicles is a major concern. Old cars, together with the poor quality of fuels used in West Africa, have been blamed for worsening air pollution. Not many of us can afford these electric vehicles or these cars sold by dealers. So it's about raising awareness so that we can at least reduce the high pollution levels created as a result of these vehicles coming from Europe and America. More than a quarter of second-hand autos exported between 2015 and 2020, or 5.6 million vehicles, ended up on the African continent, according to the UN. These vehicles come mainly from Europe and Japan, but are often very old or high-pollution models.
Did the Ethiopian National Defense Force and the Tigray People Liberation Front fighters commit violations amounting to war crimes under international law? Yes, according to a UN report unveiled Monday. Ethiopia's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva rejected Tuesday the findings of the investigators.
The report itself is self-contradictory and biased, which doesn't pay any attention to the atrocities committed in Afar and Amhara region, but solely focusing on Tigray.
After almost 2 years of conflict in Tigray, millions of people lack food. The report claims federal authorities used starvation as a method of warfare.
The only source they talk to is the TPLF itself. They wrote in their report what was dictated by the TPLF itself. Otherwise, there is no any single evidence that shows the government of Ethiopia used humanitarian aid as instrument of war.
UN investigators conducted interviews during which witnesses testified. Crimes cited in the report include murder and rape, fighting between government forces and their allies and rebels led by the TPLF reignited in August. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya landed Wednesday in Bamako. Guinea's military leader was welcomed by Mali's military ruler. The goodwill and working visit, as stated by a Malian communique, came on the eve of two major events: Bamako's 62nd independence anniversary and an ECOWAS extraordinary summit in the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Guinea's ruler insisted on the first event. I am in Bamako alongside my brother, President Assimi, to celebrate Mali's independence and to accompany the Malian people. Mali is a sister nation, and of course, we know that Guinea and Mali are like one lung, two organs in the same body. It is important that I be in Bamako to celebrate the independence of Mali with our Malian brothers. Both leaders have many issues to touch on. Their countries remain suspended from ECOWAS bodies. West African leaders will discuss Guinea's transition timetable Thursday. The diplomatic row between Mali and Ivory Coast over the detention of 46 soldiers is also on the agenda. Hundreds of Ivorians marched through Abidjan Tuesday. It was the latest demonstration in solidarity with 46 soldiers who were arrested in Mali in July. To end the dispute that followed, Bamako has suggested a prisoner swap, but Abidjan calls it blackmailing. Members of the CONASU political organization and relatives of the troops insist they are not mercenaries as Mali claims. Our children are not criminals and they can't be exchanged with Malian politicians. That won't happen. They must free those kids. They are just soldiers. They have nothing to do with Malian politics. With placards reading "We stand with the soldiers," or Mali and Ivory Coast are sister nations, the protesters called for a diplomatic resolution of the row. We will never accept the blackmail or manipulation of the Malian military junta. That's why we are reiterating our support to the president. He can count on the people of Ivory Coast. He can count on the youth. Since the crisis erupted in July, Togo has acted as a mediator between Mali and Ivory Coast. To discuss the issue, an ECOWAS extraordinary summit should take place Thursday on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly.
Senegal's Court of Appeal on Wednesday upheld a prison sentence for Dakar Mayor Barthelemy Dias. Dias, a fierce critic of President Macky Sall, had appealed his 6-month prison term and 18-month suspended sentence handed down in 2017. He was blamed for the death of a man at a political rally in 2011.
Barthelemy
Dias, as mayor of Dakar, is not threatened. As for the deputy, Barthelemy Dias, if this conviction is upheld, he risks being stripped of his mandate as a member of parliament. Therefore, to avoid this, the first response is to initiate an appeal in secession within the required legal time frame. We are told that justice is done in the name of the Senegalese people. No. Justice is rendered in the name of the authorities in charge of these law enforcement officers. It is not possible to erect a line around the court every time there is a trial and to banker it. Dias was elected city mayor in February and became a member of parliament in July's legislative elections. If he fails to challenge the sentence, he will lose his seat in the National Assembly.